Hi, my name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Museum Open House. This ongoing series features and highlights many of the outstanding museums and other cultural institutions. The main purpose of most programs is to inform viewers about current and upcoming exhibits, various programs, resources, and other opportunities that are available for the general public. Today, via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guest William Meade. William serves as the director of the Banksy Museum, which is located in the Soho neighborhood of New York City. The recently opened museum showcases and recreates more than 160 works by the world's most famous yet anonymous street artist. During the program, we'll find out why and how the exhibition came about. We'll go into behind the scenes tour and in the process come to better understand and appreciate Banksy and the wide range of intriguing artwork. Let's start by meeting William and then finding all about the Banksy Museum in New York City. Welcome, William. So delighted to be able to be here.
Thank you so much for having this program. This is fantastic. I'm so excited to be able to show you around a little bit and tell you about this brand new museum that's opening.
Well, it was very exciting to hear about the opening last week. Eager to hear about that and have you inform viewers. But before we jump right to that, I think it would be of interest if you just briefly share a little bit about your background and why and how you became involved with the museum.
Well, it's a funny thing. I started out as a musician many, many years ago and grew into a producer, and I produced many albums. And remember albums? Remember those things? Strange thing. But anyway, that grew into producing exhibitions. I produced for the American Museum of Natural History, produced dozens of exhibitions throughout all through Europe and also through Asia. And so my good friend of mine who was in France, in Paris, France, has a similar as a Banksy exhibition open in Paris, and it's been running for the last 7 years. And he told me that he really, really wanted to open a New York exhibition and make it the biggest museum in the world. And so I said, well, I jumped right on it because this is a great opportunity, and I'm a big fan of Banksy over the years. And this was a kind of a dream, a little bit of a dream come true. It's a really, really special place.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. You know, before we go around the museum, which is just a treat to have you there and give us a tour shortly, for those not as familiar, would you just share a little bit about Banksy as a person, as an artist, and then we'll hear much more how the museum came about.
Well, this is the thing, is that Banksy was an artist, or is an artist, that came out of the street artist world in the mid-1990s in Bristol, England. Now, technically, nobody knows who he is. Technically, nobody knows when and where he's going to create something, and technically, nobody knows anything about him. And his philosophy about that is that he would rather you focus in on the artwork itself than be put into a museum where somebody tells you what to think, what tells you what's important, what tells you, where to watch it and how to watch it and look for it. So his thing is that he created an entire series of works in about 2013 in New York. And his idea was better out than in. In other words, take all of his art and put it out into the on the sides of subways, on the sides of on the sides of a bridge, and that sort of thing, so that everybody could experience it in their own way. And so what we find is that it's really amazing that so many people, like I always say, is that you can find out what I pay for my mortgage. And if you do enough research, you can find out what everybody, all sorts of things about everything. But Banksy's been able to remain anonymous. But as a result, if you look at the work for itself, and if you see all of the things that we're going to walk around with, you see it in a different way, because you don't project, oh, this is a Da Vinci, oh, this is this part of his life, or this is a he lets the art speak for itself. And that's a very unusual way that we're not used to experiencing art. So it kind of makes it you experiencing his world on his terms and not what we force on him. And that's one of the
terrific.
That's one of the things that we walk away with.
That's terrific as a background. Before we jump right in and get the tour, can you share a little bit about the planning and the process, who might have been involved, different groups, some of the challenges, and pulling this dream job off so well.
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, it's massive. I mean, we have 15,000 square feet with over 100, and I think we have about 167 separate pieces here. And each one was meant to honor the artist as it was created. The piece that you see right here was originally done on the side of a bridge in Waterloo, England. And so we wanted to recreate and give you the sense of exactly the size and the shape and exactly the way it was, and not necessarily put it in a frame. And so the entire museum is based on celebrating and honoring the original intent of the artist, and that's what we're trying to do here. So and this is the amazing story. We engaged a group of totally anonymous street artists to create this entire thing. A lot of them, we don't know if they've worked for Banksy or whether or not, but over the years, these are the finest street artists in England that we find. We flew them all over here. We have no idea who they were. We have no idea when in, we just sort of like turned them loose, and this is what we have. And so everybody was authentically trying to recreate the style and the intent of the artist originally. So this is as close to the real thing as you can possibly get, because like I said, I'm going to take you around here a bit. Most of these, like the ones in Ukraine, the ones that were done in Palestine, they don't exist anymore. They're all taken down or painted over, or in the case of Ukraine, they're on the side of buildings that have been blown up. So it's really there's a lot of stories here that'll.
Yeah, that background information of the street artists who are flown in to create it is incredible. It passed me by when I first heard that there was going to be a museum opening, because I know there've been different exhibitions across the country, across the world, featuring maybe items from private collections. But the approach you've taken to make it as authentic as possible is really admirable. Well, enough said. Please take us around a bit.
Where do you start? Well, obviously, these are some of the most famous ones are the Girl with the Balloon. Now, you see, this is the other thing too. A lot of these were sort of named just by people naming them. He didn't necessarily name these things, but here we have the one, No Future, which is probably one of these, the Girl with the Balloon, we're all in the same boat, and No Future are probably the three most famous. Do you have a good time?
Yeah, very much.
See, another satisfying customer.
Terrific, terrific. I was going to ask you about reaction and feedback, and there it is, authentic.
Right there. The thing about it is, the thing about it is that I've worked in conjunction with several museums and a lot of different art exhibitions, but I have people that come out of here in tears, actually in tears, because of how because the thing about Banksy is that now this piece here was in the side of a building in Ukraine that was blown up. And I'll show you just a little piece. They have the actual picture, and you can see that this one was the man taking a bath was outside of Kiev, and not long after that, this was on the side of a bombed out building. The thing about Banksy is that he goes into Palestine, he goes into Ukraine, he creates entire pieces on the sides of, and creates art where you never would expect it and stuff. So it's really quite extraordinary that, here's a piece that was also on the side of a building. Can you see okay? There
Fabulous, fabulous.
I mean, it's some pretty controversial stuff, but you know what? Banksy's whole thing is that he's an activist. He's an activist artist. He doesn't want you to just sit there and look at a piece. He wants you to get engaged in it and really, really experience it. And as you can see, we're down here and we're still in the Ukraine section of this. So you can kind of see where he's trying to find beauty in the worst areas in the world. I'm going to run you upstairs here real quick. Waldorf Hotel. Now, the Waldorf Hotel was originally it's right next to the museum. It's right next to the wall in Israel, where they separate the Palestinians and the Jewish state. They built this monstrous wall, and this is a recreation one of the rooms in there that they called the hotel with the worst view in the world, because if you look outside, all you can see is a big wall in front of the museum.
Yes.
So we recreated that here. We call it the Waldorf Hotel, or play on words. But then we've also actually built on a complete replica in Paris around them, which is kind of cool. So here, you're going to see some of the most famous ones. And this is probably his most famous one. Next, you can see the guy showing the, he's demonstrating that he can, he's challenging us to stop, to stop throwing Molotov cocktails and to actually understand and or make peace with people rather than, causing war and stuff. Okay, so here we have this whole section of Palestine. I know I'm kind of just racing through here because I want to give you a little flavor of a lot of different things.
Yeah, appreciate that.
So, yeah, one of my favorites. Banksy has a tremendous number of pieces on gorillas and also rats. Loves rats. So I'll take you around here. So we have different parts of the museum, and we basically spread it out according to cities. A lot of people today.
That's great. That's great.
So this is one of my favorites. I am seeing the Planet of the Apes movie tonight, so I'll get a little more.
Oh, perfect. There you go. There you go.
This is part. Now I'm going to bring you over to the New York section. Now,
Yeah, I was going to ask if there was a connection to New York anywhere, so that's great.
Actually, as I said, originally there were 30 pieces done over a 30-day period in New York. There's only 3 of them that exist, and this is the only one that exists. Actually, you can go out. It's on the corner of 79th Street and Broadway, and you can actually go around and actually see this one. That's the only one. The other one here is in Coney Island. And this one has pretty much been destroyed, so you can't really see much of that. It's out of here. But if you go to Coney Island, you can see a little bit of this. And then the only other one that exists, and this is kind of a funny story, is this one. Now, along the West Side Highway, there's a place called the Hustler Building, as in the Hustler magazine. And when they pulled the front gate on there one morning, he put this out here. So, but the thing is that the people at Hustler don't want to give it away, so they yank the thing down, put it inside, and you have to pay admission to go see it. So as you can see, so now as we can see here, we're going from New York over to France, and I'm going to show you actually my favorite one of the entire bunch. In this one right here. And if you look closely, she's taking a cigarette break.
And that's great. That's fabulous.
So, a lot of very, very provocative images, especially another right one.
Oh, yeah.
That's the Bonaparte crossing the Saint Bernard, Van Saint Bernard. But you can see, and here are our friends. Okay. Lots of rats.
And that's not necessarily the New York connection.
Oh no, this is all in Paris.
Right.
It's one of the things that Banksy, he felt very strongly about rats, because rats of all the creatures in the world are the most reviled, and the ones that we ignore the most, and the ones that we hate the most. And he said, you know what, I'm going to create all of this artwork about the things that we run away the most. So in other words, so, this guy's got a little boombox going on.
Yeah.
But it's a big theme for him, and he really and I have to admit that really affected me a lot, because all the things that we view as being horrible and that we want to turn our eyes away from and we hate them most. There's a lot of there's a lot of beauty in these things. Not that I want my rats, but you know.
Hmm.
Activism all the way around. And now we're walking into the next section, which is pretty much which is in England, from England, and as you can see,
Fabulous.
kissing cuppers, they call them. So, and then we're back to this one goes all the way back to 2003. It gives you a little bit of experience. And so we're back into the entire section of England. Now, Banksy, as everybody seems to believe, we don't know all for sure, but came from Bristol in the mid 1990s. So there's a tremendous amount of his artwork that's done, you know, and you can see, look, this is all done on the wall. You know, this isn't in a frame or anything. They're all done exactly the way that he actually did them originally. So
That's it's so authentic. Yeah, it's fabulous.
some of them, I mean, some of them we have managed to capture in a couple of the framework, but for the most part, as you can see, it's we want everybody to, like I said, experience it. And this, of course, is one of his really most famous ones. Queen Ziggy Stardust.
That's great. It's great.
I'm still sort of racing through here. I mean, there's an awful lot I'm just sort of skipping over, but I'm going to take you over here into.
Please.
This is one of his most famous. But the thing that you don't see is what he had on the side here, is that all of that is coming. What looks like snowflakes is actually coming from a dumpster fire. There, it actually comes over here, and the poor little kids catching it that I was talking. Interesting, no? So, and then we're getting back into, there's all sorts of iconic works of his, which of course, everyone certainly knows this one.
For sure, for sure.
Yep. And of course, this one up here.
Nice.
And of course, one of my favorites.
Yeah. That's great.
So anyway, that gives you a quick run around. I've run past a lot of different parts of it, and a lot of different wonderful parts to it. But hopefully, your listeners and viewers will come down and oops, what's that one?
Definitely. Is there any video or animation, interactive-ish parts to the museum?
You see, that was the whole point, is that we are trying to recreate the art for the way that the art was intended. So there was another exhibition that was done a few years ago where they put on VR headsets and that sort of thing, and you know, it just doesn't seem authentic.
Yeah.
You know, and that was our goal, was to try and make this as authentic and as close to the originals as possible, and to honor the artist as much as possible. So the idea is that by putting it on these walls, and we're trying to be authentic. Whereas if we put it on VR headsets or do interactive stuff, it kind of takes it one more step out.
Yeah.
Of the
Agree.
So you know, no, I mean, there's all sorts of fun things that we do in the other museums. Like we have people paint over Banksy posters because so many of his pieces were painted over for whatever reason. My favorite video I saw one time was where he had put it on the side of a building, and the guy comes up with a crane and takes the whole side of the building, and they take it off, and then they go out and sell it. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. So anyway, so that gives you a pretty good idea.
But I think the authenticness, it comes through so well with the example you gave earlier of the reaction to one of the works, that people are there to really connect with the intent of the work, and that there's sort of bare bones opportunity that you've made available, visitors can really experience what they come to appreciate and learn from Banksy. So
Exactly,
that
exactly.
definitely achieved so well. Any sense from Banksy, whether your museum or one of the others, his thoughts and reaction is,
We actually, when the museum in Paris opened 6, 7 years ago, he released a statement and he said, "I'm thrilled that," I'm paraphrasing it. He said he's thrilled the fact that now people can see and experience and view his work. Because like you said, so much of it. I mean, I use this example sometimes, but when you think about it, if we didn't have any way to record music, and I had to tell you what a piece of music was, right? It's not the same. And in so many ways, Banksy is kind of like music that goes off into the air, and unless you capture it, like this, then it's gone forever. And as I said, most of his pieces, none of them, a lot of, probably 75% of these don't exist anymore. They've all been, destroyed or painted over or whatever. So it's really kind of it's a special opportunity to see. And the thing that we also find is that, the reaction, as I was saying, is, you look at it's simple, but very profound.
yeah, oh yeah,
There's
exactly.
exactly, and the thing is that that's what draws really these really gut reactions, is that it's not, it's something that pieces that everybody can relate to and some of the levels, but this is the most important thing that we've discovered also, is that by not telling everybody about it, you have a different kind of engagement. It's a different type of way that you respond to this, and it's a different way that people walk away from it. So, and it forces the person viewing this to get engaged in a different way.
That really capsulizes it so well. And your little phrase before saying, simple, 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 but very profound. I mean, that is Banksy in a nutshell. That's really terrific. I know the museum's only a week old. You're probably still running on adrenaline, but do you have any events or programs and planned to go along with the
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We have a big event space right downstairs, and we already have reservations for, I don't know, 20 or 30 upcoming events, all of which we're going to have people come and speak. We're going to have street artists. We're going to have a day where we're going to have the whole area open so that people come in and meet street artists, and we'll have them working,
Oh,
downstairs.
fabulous.
I mean, the thing is that we're celebrating not only Banksy, but we're celebrating artists that, that you have. I mean, they're amazing artists, but because, like you said, because they're not in the museum, nobody knows or nobody cares about them and stuff. So this is an opportunity for us to celebrate not only Banksy, but street art in general, and the tremendously the wonderful artists that create this work. And so we're going to be doing that, and also, and yeah, so that's all coming down the pike, and we're going to be doing that. A lot of this is going to be happening in the fall and stuff. So we're looking forward to that.
Terrific, terrific. How do people go about do you have to make reservations
Well,
or?
what you have to do is you have to go on museumbanksy.com, and there's a little thing there, click for getting tickets. The tickets range anywhere from $21 up to $40. We're open 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Wow,
7 days a week. So come on down. That's a lot. So and the thing is that it's really interesting. This area here at Canal and Broadway has so many interesting things. And I mean, there's some wild, people selling Versace bags and all sorts of stuff down here, but don't tell them that the Rolex isn't real. Anyway, there's so many fun and interesting things to do. Chinatown is just down the street here. The main part of Soho is down there. There's all sorts of other exhibitions in this area and stuff. So it's a lot of fun. And we, I encourage the families to come, because, like I said, one of the most interesting things is when we listen to children, their reaction to this, and we've heard some pretty profound things. So we've had quite a number of families We have, in the fall, we've already booked about 30 or 40 school groups already
Oh,
here. So
fabulous.
we'll get some, so we're in for the long haul. We're not going anywhere, and we hope you can come down. And
That's
yeah, and you should come down in person too. I'll give you another tour.
most definitely, most definitely. You know, looking back now that the museum is up and running, what are some of your thoughts and reactions to the initial planning and where you are now? What surprised you, or maybe you learned about Banksy that just weren't that familiar before you pulled off this fabulous institution?
Well, the first thing I wasn't familiar with was I wasn't familiar with a lot of this work. When you put it, it always reminds me of the first time that I went to see a collection of all of Da Vinci's handwritten sketches and stuff. You can't believe how much, how many wonderful pieces there are and how much stuff is here. And it was like, this is crazy because I know most of these, I knew a lot of them, but this is a lot of stuff that has been really eye-opening to me. And like I said, the biggest surprise to me is that even if somebody doesn't know anything about Banksy, even if they've never heard of him, even if whatever, no one comes out of here without an experience and without being touched in some way. There's some very, very profound work here. And and I have to say we're celebrating Banksy, but we're celebrating street artists, but also we're celebrating humanity. And this is, it makes, especially with all of the trouble at the campuses, and we get people from Columbia University coming down here all the time, wanting to talk about Banksy, wanting to talk about his activism and stuff. I think that the one thing that it's been inspiring to see how people not only view it, but it motivates them and gets them to want to get more involved and to be more activists.
Oh, no, couldn't be any more topical, that's for sure.
That's
Well,
for sure.
William, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program. Want to thank you so much for taking the time, giving us this incredible behind the scenes tour. Congratulations to you and your
Thank you.
colleagues for the creation of the Banksy Museum. Definitely eager to come on down and spend some time, and just wish you continued success with this and future endeavors.
Thank you so much. You've been really kind, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and all your listeners. It's really a very special experience. Well worth it. Well worth it. Really.
For sure, for sure.
All
Well,
right.
I
Thank you,
also,
sir.
you're welcome. I also want to thank those of you watching for joining us, and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you down here soon.
Bye.